Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal, joining you from the Emirates, where it's just finished. Arsenal 3, Chelsea 1. Arsenal back to winning ways after that 4-game run without a win, and back to the top of the table for now anyway. Of course, having played 2 games more than Manchester City, but that's all they could have done today. They needed to win this game, they needed to get themselves back up and running, and that's exactly what they did. They were helped by Chelsea, who in the first half collectively were a complete and utter shambles, and Arsenal took full advantage of that. Played really well in the first half. Arteta made some changes. There were changes that I was really happy to see him make. I said in one of my videos earlier on this week that I just felt like Kiwior should be started, even though he's left-footed and you've got the whole can't play 2 left-footed players together. Didn't really make too much sense to me. If you spend that sort of money for him in January, why can't you play him when you're playing Rob Holding, who quite clearly was becoming more and more of an issue in this team? And it just felt like you've got to bite the bullet and try Kiwior as the other centre back alongside Gabriel, even though they're both left-footed. And he did that today, and I thought Kiwior was very good. So that was a good change. I felt that Jorginho should come in for Thomas Partey, because Partey's been so poor in the last 2 games. Jorginho is impressive. He played really well, and I wanted to see Trossard start, and he did start. Trossard wasn't fantastic by any means, but he just, you know what you're going to get with Trossard, and I thought he was tidy, he was neat, moved the ball well. Yes, he didn't score, he didn't get an assist, but he caused Chelsea problems, and he deserved a starting spot, I thought. So it was good to see him back in the side. And it was good just to see Mikel do something a little bit different. It wasn't just the same team. He didn't just carry on hoping something was going to change. He actually made some changes. What it does do, obviously, is kind of beg the question as why didn't he make these changes earlier? Could he have done this for Manchester City? Obviously, it's all saying in hindsight now, which is never, it's always easy to say in hindsight, but you did feel like that game with Manchester City was potentially the one to try something a little bit different, given the form Arsenal went into that game in. But again, it's all hindsight. He did make the changes today, and it worked, and Arsenal got the win that they needed just to breathe some new life into the season. The last thing you wanted was this season just to fizzle out and it almost become a bit of a scramble to get second. This has given Arsenal just a little bit of a boost ahead of that really tricky looking game against Newcastle at the weekend at St James's Park. Newcastle flying, obviously. Arsenal really poor there last season, and it's going to be big for them to go there and try and get the win at the weekend. It was just a really good performance. Sorry, I'm just looking at the people shouting my name walking out of the thing. It was a good performance. There was some really good stuff in the first half. Granit Xhaka with 3 assists in the first half, turning into prime Pirlo almost. Martin Odegaard with 2 goals. Odegaard went into this game on the back of quite a bit of criticism after the Manchester City performance. There were people questioning his performance, but also his leadership qualities in that game, which I thought was quite harsh, because Odegaard's been so good this season. And he responded well today, scoring 2 really good goals. The first goal was an absolute beauty. The second goal was a nice finish as well. I mean, it's awful from Chelsea. The fact that it was bad enough that they left Odegaard with that amount of space for the first goal, but then to do exactly the same 10 minutes later, it's criminal really. And it just summed up Chelsea's performance in that first half. They were all over the place. Frank Lampard, he started Aubameyang. And this was Aubameyang's first start since the game at Stamford Bridge against Arsenal back in November, when he was awful. He hadn't started a game since then, and then Lampard threw him in for this one, and it almost felt like he just did it just for the narrative really, just at the hope that Aubameyang might do something against his former club, and it didn't work. Aubameyang had 9 touches in the game, was taken off at half-time. 4 of his touches were from kickoffs. And I always felt for Aubameyang, because he's coming from the cold in this awful situation that Chelsea are in, and just kind of expected to make a difference. He was on a hide into nothing for this one, and just reeked of Lampard being desperate, and it just kind of sums up the mess that Chelsea are in today. And I was a bit nervous before this game because of the state Chelsea are in, and the fact that Arsenal were playing poorly and had been on that bad run and confidence down. You thought, Chelsea going to come here and turn things round just at the wrong time. But after watching them for the first 20 minutes, 25 minutes, you thought, they are just rubbish. They are a right state. And Arsenal were just dominant in the first half, absolutely hammered them. 2 goals from Martin Odegaard, like I said, 1 for Gabriel Jesus, who was good. I thought Jesus deserved his goal. And 3-0 at half-time. Chelsea improved in the second half. Arsenal got a little bit nervy in the second half after that goal, which you can kind of understand given the way things have gone in the last few games, but they saw the game out. Gabriel did limp off injured, which is a bit of a worry ahead of that game against Newcastle. Hopefully he'll be all right. He came out on the pitch afterwards and was kind of smiling and talking to people, but he was limping. And he went down about 4 or 5 times during the second half, and he kept having a bit of treatment and then carrying on. Eventually he was replaced by Rob Holding with about 10 minutes to go, or 5 minutes to go. So that's a little bit of a worry ahead of the game against Newcastle. We'll see what Mikel Arteta says about that later in his press conference. But other than that, it wasn't really any sort of downside to this performance. Players came in, played well. and Arsenal back up and running, and that was the main thing. They just needed to win this game just to give themselves a bit of respite, just to give Manchester City something to think about, and they've done that. And now it's over to City to see how they respond. Right, player ratings time. In goal, Aaron Ramsdale made a really good save in the first half. Actually, barely had a thing to do, but at 1-0, Chilwell went through and Ramsdale kept it out, and that was a really crucial save because if that goes in, it's 1-1. It could have been a different game. He was disappointed not to keep a clean sheet again at the Emirates. Chelsea scrambling that goal through Madueke right at the end, but a solid performance from Ramsdale, so I gave him a 7. Ben White was a threat going forward. He did struggle at times against Sterling. I thought it wasn't his best performance, but it wasn't bad by any means. But I gave Ben White a 6. Kiwior, I thought he played really well. I thought he was composed. He read the game well. He stepped out. He was aggressive when he needed to be, and I thought it was a good performance. And again, it does beg the question of why he hasn't featured before. But again, that's hindsight, isn't it? But I thought he played well today in his first league start. It was an impressive showing, and he can be very happy with his performance. So I gave Kiwior an 8. Gabriel, I gave a 6. I thought there was a couple of nervy moments. He was definitely troubled by that injury in the second half. And I thought Chelsea took advantage of that a little bit, played off him, and he kind of was limping his way through. So I gave Gabriel a 6. Zinchenko was caught napping for Chelsea's goal, let the guy run off behind him. Just not in the best of form at the moment, Zinchenko. Tierney came on for him about 20 minutes to go. I think that was the right decision by Arteta, and I do wonder if it might be worth starting Tierney against Newcastle at the weekend, but that's maybe that's something we'll discuss in videos leading up to the weekend. So I gave Zinchenko a 6. Potentially could have been a 5. Maybe I've marked him 1 point too high there. Maybe could have been a 5. Midfield, Jorginho deservedly came in, I think, because Partey's been so poor, and I thought Jorginho played well. He controlled the game midfield, especially in the first half. Second half game got away from him a little bit, but it was a solid performance from him, so I gave him a 7 out of 10. Granit Xhaka, excellent. 3 assists in the first half, all 3 assists for Arsenal's goals. The first 2 especially were really good. Third one maybe a little bit scrappy, but yeah, he could have scored in the second half, would have deserved his goal as well. He was denied by Kepa with a really good save, so I gave him an 8. Odegaard, captain's performance, 2 goals to get the ball rolling, perfect response to the criticism that he's had in the sort of days following on from the Manchester City defeat. I gave Odegaard 9 out of 10. Did not stop working, even in the second half when Arsenal were taking their foot off the gas a little bit. I thought he was still the one person just showing really, really good work ethic. Martin Odegaard, he gets a 9 out of 10 from me. Really good performance from him. In attack, Saka, clearly still not firing on all cylinders, but having said that, he still caused Chelsea plenty of problems in that game. He was unlucky, nearly scored in the second half, drew one good save from Kepa. I gave him a 7. Definitely not playing at his very best, and he hasn't been for a few weeks, but as I said, he did cause Chelsea problems still today. Gabriel Jesus, I thought, was very, very good. He got his goal, he deserved his goal. It was a nice finish, sort of poacher's finish, really. Good to see him in and around the 6-yard box to be able to finish off a chance like that. He caused the Chelsea defence all sort of problems all night. His movement was good, and kept drifting into space. So yeah, it was a good performance from Gabriel Jesus. I gave him an 8. And Trossard, like I said earlier on, neat and tidy. I thought not his best performance. Didn't get an assist or anything like that, but still deserved his place in the starting 11, and he didn't play badly by any means. I gave him a 7 out of 10 as well. Substitutes all came on, 5 of them: Martinelli, Tierney, Nelson, and then Holding and Partey came on right at the end. None of them really. I thought Nelson was energetic when he came on, and while Arsenal was kind of going through the motions in the last 15 minutes, he looked like he was trying to make something happen, which he has done pretty much every time he's come off the bench recently, Reece Nelson. But yeah, I'm not really going to give any of those guys a grade because the game was done and dusted by the time they came on. Martinelli had the longest of them all, but didn't really make too much of an impact. So yeah, that's ratings from Mikel Arteta. It was just a good night for him. He made the changes. He needed to make changes. He did, and the changes worked. And he'll be really, really happy tonight that his team have got themselves back up and running. They've got the win that they've needed, and they can now go into the Newcastle game at the weekend just with a little bit more belief and feeling a little bit better about themselves than they have been in recent weeks. I'm going to head down now, see what Mikel Arteta has to say, and I will talk to you. I'll record a video tomorrow going over this game a little bit more in depth and seeing what Mikel Arteta had to say. So it's finished here at the Emirates. Arsenal 3, Chelsea 1.